Hi, and welcome to It's Not That Bad, optimistic movie reviews for optimistic people. Just waiting for the day when you're like, that was garbage.
No, it was as always, it is amazing, and you were so in your space and in your zone. I kind of, that day where Christian Bale, I'm saying it like we were on the set, but you remember that day when Christian Bale on Terminator, he had a complete fuck out because someone got into his line of sight. Like, I didn't want to get into your line of sight while you were doing the intro.
Right.
So, because I don't want that between us. I want us to remain friends. I don't want you to Christian Bale on me.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah. So, welcome everyone. That's Simone LaRue.
That's Chad Ekowitz.
And, this is the comedy weekly podcast where we tell you about films that are bad, but we tell you why they're not that bad and why you're wrong. Because you're wrong. It's the mansplaining podcast for the optimist.
We do actually, explain a lot of stuff for, dumb 25-year-olds.
And dumb high school students, but especially, I think it's okay to say that all high school people are dumb.
Yes, I was an absolute idiot in high school. You're all very clever and self-possessed, but also, you're dumb.
Yeah, you're all dumb. Life hasn't happened to you yet, and you are dumb. Life hasn't really happened to us yet, but it's happened to us more than it has happened to you. And so, you are dumb, and we are clever.
God, I used to think 25 was, so old. And I guess I still do, it's just, I thought I'd have more shit together by now.
For reals. I swore to myself that I would be in New York at 25, living as a writer and an actor.
Oh.
Yeah, I was dead set on it, and then life happens, and I'm very sort of glad that I'm not in New York, because I would probably be dead.
At least you're in the UK where the weather's so much better.
Oh, it's sunny every day. I'm never cold.
Especially in beautiful tropical Leeds.
That's what it's known for. It's tropical weather. The amount of palm trees. They've actually got a problem here with the palm trees. But yes, so thank you for joining us for yet another brilliant week of tangents that we'll go off on for an hour or two. And so I think now that that's all explained, tell me, Simone, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer. It is a Black Label, and it is 5.5%. It is also a man can, so I've got 500 mils of it.
That's very impressive. I like Black Label. It's not my favourite South African beer, but it is a good beer.
It's just a solid, standard beer. Did you know it's Canadian, actually, Black Label?
What?
Yeah, that's a fact I learned.
I did not know that. Wow. You can actually learn things on this podcast.
Yeah. Mostly alcohol related.
Yeah, this will teach you sort of beer skills, but minor. But that's amazing. Wow. So they strip it from South Africa because it is. I feel like it is very much.
It's a Canadian brand, but it's SAB does manufacture it in South Africa.
Okay. So sort of like the SAB is a subsidiary of the Canadian company then.
I don't know how it works. I wish you wouldn't ask me.
Why don't you know more about this very specific type of beer and its sort of corporate...
Its whole history.
Sort of layout. It's very upsetting.
1882, Mr. Black Label.
That was his name, Mr. Black Label.
Yeah. Yes, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Black Label.
That would actually make sense, being French-Canadian, if it was Black Label.
That makes me happy. And I will write this unofficial history of Black Label soon.
If it's not on Wikipedia by Wednesday, I'm going to be upset.
I'll keep everybody updated.
I am drinking the same wine from last week, the White Zinfandel, just purely because I haven't really had time to drink the rest of it during the week. But it is a lovely 11%. But since I think it's unfair, as a rule, for me to start for a second week based off the same bottle, I think that's not really fair because I'm essentially
yeah,
just
yeah.
drinking the same thing. And essentially, if I was sort of less busy, that would have been finished. And I feel like it's just justice points me in the direction that you should win on weeks where I
Oh.
am double downing.
You know, I disagree. I think you can go first as many times as you want. Your dedication to this podcast and your lack of dedication to your liver should be celebrated constantly.
Celebrated. I like that word. Use the word celebrated. Well, I mean, to be honest, I want to speak about Passport to Paris way more than I want to speak about The Mummy.
The Mummy 3.
So, that's something we should mention. Simone, what movie are you doing this week? I've kind of given it away.
Yeah, so I'm going to be covering the Olsen twins straight to VHS classic, Passport to Paris.
Was it straight to VHS?
Yeah, it didn't ever premiere in theaters. I know you'd think so, because it was like such a popular movie. Like, pretty much everybody that I know who was like a young girl the same time as me has seen it.
Wow, I did not realize that it went straight to VHS. That's sad.
Yeah.
It's such an iconic film for our youth. And I will be doing I will be doing The Mummy 3 Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. I keep on wanting to say Rise of the Dragon Emperor, but it's the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. It's not even like a cool name.
Because of the mummy theme.
Yeah. But okay, so yeah, I want to spend a lot more time on Passport to Paris than I do on my film this week. So I think you should go first.
Okay, amazing. Passport to Paris came out in 1999 when the world was collectively obsessed with the Olsen twins. The Olsen twins play Melanie Porter, played by Mary Kate, and Allison Porter, played by Ashley, two girls in junior high who have lived in the same small town their whole lives, and their parents decide that to make them a little bit more cultural, they'll send them off to go visit their grandfather, played by Peter White, in Paris, where he is the ambassador for the United States. This plan pretty much happens like a week before they go, so, you know, it's nice. Must be nice not having to apply for visas and shit. Just touched.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Let's not start.
God, it hurts. Oh, it hurts. Okay. The girls arrive in Paris and are immediately disappointed with the experience. The food is gross because they're fed classic, stereotypically French foods like escargot. Their grandfather's really strict, so they feel like they're never going to have any fun. And their tour guide is a stick-in-the-mud diplomat named Jeremy Bluff, played by Matt Winston. The girls continue to have a miserable time the first day, even though they're in Paris and they're being taken to, like, the Louvre and really cool places. But their luck begins to change when two boys on scooters almost run them over. The girls hatch a plan to get in touch with these two very cute boys, and when they do, an adventure starts that propels them into the more fun side of Paris with boys and fashion. They meet a supermodel named Brigitte, played by Yvonne Scio? Schio? I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she's beautiful.
I thought it would be Chou.
Chou?
But because she's French, but I don't know. I'm not gonna.
I'm pretty good at French, and I don't think that's a French last name.
Oh, okay. Look, I'll trust you.
She's from Italy. That's probably why I don't know.
It would probably be Skew then. But I was gonna stop you and comment on the fact that you said the boys were very cute, and I was gonna challenge that comment of very cute, and then I thought, wait, I'm commenting on 13-year-old boys and their attractiveness, so I'm just gonna I'll bring it back.
Let's ease off that. Yeah. We'll get into the boys just now. Phrasing for that. We'll cut that out. It's fine. The movie culminates in the girls finally bonding with their stiff grandfather and helping him get an agreement signed by the French foreign minister for cleaner water in France, somehow. And then they go to a school dance of their new French boyfriends and go home with a much better appreciation for other cultures and for travel. And they're not interested in the dumb boys at their own middle school anymore.
Yeah, they don't want to go hang out at the mall. They want to study about Africa from their giant brown covered books.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know who they think is going to pay for it, but they'll learn that harsh reality in time.
But yeah, they definitely do come back more cultured, clearly.
I mean, one of them speaks French almost okay by the end.
Almost okay. To be fair, they only had a week. Like it was a week in Paris essentially. Like we can't ask that much.
Yeah, but supposedly they'd learned it in high school in America, and then they were just like trying to speak it in France, which, you know, Parisians love it when you try to speak their own language to them poorly.
Look, I feel like they appreciate it more, but then again, I'm coming from an English point of view where they just hate the English, so whatever we do is wrong.
Everything you do is exactly wrong.
So, Simone, I want you to talk about sort of your ties to this movie in terms of being essentially Mary-Kate and Ashley. Essentially, you are a Mary-Kate or an Ashley. I don't know which one you prefer to be. That's for you to decide.
I could not say. I don't want to label myself too soon on this podcast. Isn't it like Mary-Kate's supposed to be like the sporty one? Ooh, shit. And Ashley's supposed to be like the girly one?
I would like to be able to provide an answer for that question, but I don't know.
Honestly, it would be so weird if you did know.
It would be amazing if I knew, because I would bring that up constantly.
Oh, she's such a Mary-Kate.
I would go through a room, just like enter a room, and I would immediately label every single one of them, and then the sort of coincidental person who's sort of coming through the ranks would be the new sister who we have never met until the Avengers series.
Elizabeth Olsen is a treasure. I really like her.
Yeah, she's sort of reinstated the Olsen name, which is great, and I'm very proud of her.
You know, I learned, though, that they basically started acting, they started acting on Full House when they were 6 months old.
What?
So, everybody's like, ooh, where are they now? I'm like, they started acting when they were babies. They get to take a fucking break now.
Yeah, if they want to chill, they get to chill. Like...
Yeah.
Wow.
Leave the Olsen twins alone, is my message to everybody. Everybody likes to make fun of them. Leave them alone.
Like, it's not surprising they went through so much shit and, like, both became really bulimic and anorexic and shit. Like,
yeah,
could you imagine living your whole life in the public eye? Like, literally from 6 months old. That's horrendous.
And they were, like,
I didn't know that.
Huge. They had the TV show, they had all the movies, they had books. Like, it was just this crazy public persona that they had to keep up for, like, their entire childhood and adolescence and well into adulthood.
Yeah, for reals. Wow. That's horrible. I do not envy them. That's awful.
Yeah.
Bless them. Well done. Well done, you girls. I'm proud of you.
But back to Passport to Paris, they're super plucky and adorable in it.
It's true, they are. But yes, your personal connection to this film.
Yeah. I want to set context for this movie. I probably, much like every girl my age, watched it when I was very young, much younger than they are in this movie, which is about 12, 13. And it really shaped my vision for what Europe is like. And then, as a 10-year-old, I actually moved to Europe because my dad is a diplomat, and I didn't watch the movie again. And watching it now with my experiences of having moved to Europe as, like, a very young, like, preteen girl, and also having spent a lot of time around embassies, I was yelling at the screen a lot. Turns out, European boys aren't more romantic than normal boys. They're pretty much... All teenage boys are shits.
Yeah, all teenage boys are trash, and you can extend that to all men are trash. There's no question about it.
I mean, like... God.
No, like, we're not going to get into the politics of that hashtag, but, you know, just as a general rule, hello, boy.
Yeah, there he is. He's keeping me company.
There he is. Sorry, the cat, Simone's cat Oliver has just decided to join us, and he's the best boy. So, welcome to the podcast.
He's such a good boy. He's the real star.
He's not trash.
No, he's perfect. Anyway, so, that's where I want to jump off into this movie.
Yes, so tell us I don't necessarily want you to list them, but give us some of the biggest inconsistencies with real embassies and then this film.
First of all, why are they living in the embassy? The embassy is where the diplomatic mission does their business. The ambassador then has an ambassador's residence, which can be on the same property if there's a big property, or else is usually close by, and it's usually much nicer. I don't understand why they'd all be living in the embassy and, like, eating dinners and shit there. It doesn't make any sense. Second of all, the security at that embassy for an American embassy is shockingly lax. We see 2 security guards at the front gate, but then these 2 teenage boys manage to sneak through no fucking problem to throw rocks at their windows later on, and the ambassador's not even mad about it. And I understand this is like a pre-9/11 world, but still, American embassies do tend to have much better security. One of the things that is accurate, though, is that often lower-ranking diplomats do have to do really dumb shit, like keep the ambassador's grandchildren entertained, although usually, like, diplomats' wives and stuff are asked to do that. And also, like, they don't do a bad job of it, because their job is to promote the country they're in to people from their country, so, like, they actually would have had a pretty good itinerary drawn up for 2 preteen girls that wouldn't have involved a bunch of museums and stuff, because, like, their job is to promote the country, so...
I love Jeremy.
Jeremy's the sweetest. He reminds me, like, a little bit of my dad, and they're so mean to him.
They are so mean. But to be fair, they are bitches. That was the first note that I made. They are diabolical. What they do to those other 2 girls in the school in the sort of beginning of the film is evil, like proper evil.
Just because the girls are like popular and other guys like them.
Like, they're just really, really mean, and it was unnecessary. And they keep making snide comments, and they're mean to Jeremy, who's just the best guy in the world. Angel. And also they keep calling him Jamian, which really angers me.
Oh, I thought they were calling him J-Man. Like a fun, cool, early 2000s nickname.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Jamian, and that's what really... I was like, why are you calling him Jamian? Why are you being so mean?
At least they get him a hot, smart girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Pixie Dream Girls right there.
Oh, she's so cute. I actually really like her.
And she's so like,
oh, modeling. I just happen to be, like, gorgeous. But it's, like, not my passion. And I'm like, yes, girl. You get your PhD awesome. In international relations. She speaks 5 languages now.
She's great. She is a great role model. And, like, I love the fact as well, like, Jeremy and her relationship is really, really cute, and he is super cute about the whole thing. Like, when they're walking and they take the girls out for gelato, he's like, you know, we're both, what are we going to do? We're both sort of hard-working, crazy people who prefer our jobs and don't want to risk them. And they go to the gelato, and she's like, oh, what do you like? Oh, I like chocolate. And he's like, no, I'm a vanilla guy. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? And he just goes, well, I'll have chocolate too. And that's just so cute.
They're super cute. It's also, it sums up my relationship really well. I want one thing, Rudy wants another thing. We get the thing that I want, and I do try to compromise. I try to be a nice girlfriend, but I just can't help it if I have better taste.
Wow, that's a strong stance to take on this.
He'll hear this, and we'll have a cute argument. He knows I'm teasing.
This is when you come back. This is when you come back next week, and you're just like, so Rudy and I broke up.
I'm moving up
because of the podcast. No, he would never do that to you.
No.
I hope. He's a good boy.
He's very sweet, and I think he's quite fond of me, so hopefully it would take a bit more for us to break up.
Well, he's moving in with you, so that's pretty huge. Well,
yeah, he's stuck with me for at least a year.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. So yeah, good luck to him, really.
Yeah. I mean, I'm giving us time to settle in, and then the crazy will really start coming out.
That's the exciting time. That's the super clean Simone times. I love those times.
If you think Super Clean Simone didn't come out the moment we moved into the house, you do not know me. I was literally there, like, the first day we moved in. I was there, it was like 7 o'clock at night, and I'm there, like, fucking scrubbing the shower. I was like, we can't shower until it's clean!
You know what? You remember there was a time when I was going to move in with you?
Yes.
And I think our friendship has only survived because I didn't...
It would have not worked out well at all. We're both such good friends, and we're both crazy annoying in our own ways, and I think living together really would have magnified those exponentially.
Yeah. Like, I'm a pretty clean person, but in a very different way to you're a clean person, and yeah, I think we would have... We wouldn't be as close as we still are. A bit of distance was good. Plus, living with boys is just a mistake. You never want to live with a boy. They're gross.
I do live with a boy now.
Yeah, good luck with that.
He's pretty clean so far. Like, I know he's on his best behavior because we've only been living together for a little bit, but, like, honestly, I'm a little more messy because, like, I'll just chuck my clothes everywhere. Like, I'll have a big clean at, like, the end of the week or whatever, but, like, in between, my clothes are everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Well, good on him.
It's compromise.
But hopefully that sort of standard will stay. Yeah. I want to talk about the fact that the green screen in this film was fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh, man. I think the acting in general in this film was fantastic and made better by the fact that they were in front of a green screen for a lot of it.
Just the whole scene when they were in the Louvre, and it was just literally the standing still walking while the scene goes on behind you.
That's literally a comment that I made while I was watching it. I was like, oh, they're totally really walking.
It was just the 8-bit graphics. Everything about it was just
Do you know, though,
awesome.
I watched that as a child, and then when I went to the Louvre, like, later on, I was still quite young. I was, like, genuinely upset that there weren't fucking paintings flying past my head. And I didn't feel like I was in, like, a portal full of paintings going past. It's just a normal art museum, it turns out.
It is quite sad. I think that's a comment you should have left on, like, TripAdvisor or something.
Disappointing. Not the experience I was promised.
Yeah. Please refer to Passport to Paris 1999.
I love that there's no traffic in Paris in this movie.
Yes. Apparently, you know, one of the worst places to drive is actually really
so pleasant.
Easy to get
You know,
through.
my theory is that Paris wasn't popular until the Olsen twins made it popular, though. Like, it was just this cute little unknown capital city. And then, subsequently, traffic really increased in Paris.
Because of that. Do you think that would be amazing?
Yeah, because of the Olsen twins.
Just the French are just really angry now because, you know, pre 1999 it was just a really pleasant place to live. Just super chill.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would be the dream.
Yeah.
I know you wanted to get into the kids, so let's get into the kids.
You know, child actors sure have gotten a lot better these days. Is how I want to start that.
Well, I think both of those French boys deserved Oscars.
They were adorable.
They were the worst. They're so creepy. I hated both of them. All I could think was stranger danger.
They had to be for the plot of the movie to move forward. But yes, they were extremely creepy. Also, I love that it took 2 of them to deliver 2 bouquets of flowers. So whoever's fucking hired them is losing money, because these guys are completely competent. Also, they deliver the flowers, and then they just fuck off for the day.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think their main job is to deliver flowers, because there's that scene, right, where they go to the secret place, which also, not a good place to take 2 embassy daughters. Like, you don't do that. That's not gonna happen.
Take them to a nice restaurant. Like, there are lots of beautiful rooftops in Paris.
Yeah, and you're not gonna take them to a secret place. You know there's gonna be security. They're embassy people. Like, they're protected by, you know, the state.
It can become a diplomatic incident.
Yeah, and that's not good.
We'll talk more on diplomatic incidents in a second, too, because I'm upset.
Oh, yes. This is gonna be a great podcast for people who love public relations.
God, I'm making my dad so proud.
He's gonna listen to this and just tears streaming down his face.
My dad doesn't listen to this podcast because he doesn't understand the concept of podcasts, and he's like, I just can't sit still for that long. And I'm like, no, Dad, you're supposed to, like, do other stuff while you listen to it. And he's like, I just don't get it.
That is adorable.
He said he tried to listen to the first episode. He sat for 15 minutes. And then he couldn't sit still anymore.
God, oh, bless him. I love him.
I love my dad so much. And he did his best to be supportive. Like, you've met my dad. He's a ball of energy. Like, for him to sit still for 15 minutes is impressive.
Yeah.
So that's how I know he loves me.
Just tell him to go on a hike or something while he listens to it.
Dude, look, he does not understand the concept.
Oh, like, good on him, though. But yeah, so yeah, those boys are creepy. The fact that, you know, the shorter one flies off the handle at the waiter was very upsetting.
Also, because it is fucking rude to ask for sauce on the side in Paris, especially if it's, like, a dish that's prepared in the sauce.
Yeah, for real.
Like, the waiter had every right to be like, that's just not possible, you fucking uncultured swine.
Also, you're 13, how about you listen to me? And then the fucking kid who's also 13 is just like, no, how could you treat her with such disrespect? No.
What are you doing yelling at a waiter, dude?
Yeah, like, that's just really disrespectful, so...
In general, I find, like, this movie does a great disservice to the French. They're all portrayed as, like, really stuffy, and, like, they have terrible taste in food, or they're such big snobs. Like, French cuisine is some of the best in the world, and it isn't all snails and frogs' legs and stuff. Like, it's really innovative, cool things. And they make it sound like half the people there have never fucking had McDonald's before, which, like, but then why would McDonald's be there in the country?
Yeah, for real.
I don't know. It was just, like, it really made French people look so out of touch with the Western world, which is such an American point of view. And it was just, like, really annoying to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it came from a very, very stereotypical place. And I mean, talking about hamburgers, that probably will be the scene that stays with me for all time. Because when Francois goes to eat the hamburger and Mary-Kate or Ashley go... No, it's a hamburger. It's called a hamburger. You're supposed to eat it with your hands, implying that she thinks that it's called a hand burger.
Yeah. And also, I don't know, the weird implication that a French chef who presumably knows about a lot of different types of cuisine wouldn't know to eat it with his hands.
But it's not that bad. I think, as I said to you the other day when I watched this, I prefer New York Minute, but there is something magically nuanced of their younger films. I'm a massive fan of New York Minute because sort of it shows their development as young ladies and their transition into that stage, because one of them's like really messy and a rocker chick who likes to hang out and have fun, and the other one's sort of this very like sort of prim and proper one, and they're sort of very much like any siblings, they sort of divide off into their own paths, where in this one they're sort of so similar because they're still at that age where they haven't sort of developed their own personalities and things. And it's nice to see that change. So, I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, go and watch New York Minute, because I am probably going to go watch New York Minute.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And, you know, just enjoy the difference between the two.
You know, I will say this movie, like, it's not accurate, but it's not meant to be. Like, it's just wish fulfillment for preteen girls. Like, you watch it and you're like, yeah, I do want to, like, go to Paris for spring break and stay in a big house with my grandfather, and I want to, like, meet cute boys and go shopping with a supermodel and, like, cause a diplomatic incident. And all of that good stuff. I want to go to the random French high school party and pretend to have a good time, even though it would be really weird and awkward. And my chaperone kind of gate crashed it with his date, which is weird. But, you know, like, those are all wishes that you have. That's not what really happens when you move to Europe. Oh, and then I want to touch on a final thing, which is at the end, they do a thing where they're trying to get the French foreign minister to sign off on some clean water bill, which, like, you wouldn't think would be a big deal. And also, like, if you were having them over for a gala dinner, you wouldn't necessarily discuss it then. That's really rude from a diplomacy point of view. But basically they get him to sign it by giving him, like, French tap water, which is like a fuck ton of mercury and God knows, like, E. coli and shit in it. And he takes a sip. And essentially that could have been a diplomatic incident because he was on American soil, since it's an American embassy, and they essentially almost poisoned him.
Ooh.
As granddaughters of the ambassador, like, he thought it was cute, but if there was a foreign minister who didn't, like, it could have been a really serious issue very quickly.
Would that have been seen as an act of sort of violence?
Yeah, absolutely. You're poisoning the French ambassador, or French foreign minister, on American soil.
Jesus. Okay, that's scary. I don't think this film realizes how scary it could have been.
So their grandfather should have been a little bit more mad at them.
Oh man, could you imagine just the next film is called Mary-Kate and Ashley World War III?
Mary-Kate and Ashley and the trade sanctions.
Yes, that would be amazing. Well, I want to know, since we've talked about this, what is your scene that could have saved it? What would have made this film just the bestest?
I think maybe just a scene of them being really appreciative that they got to go to Paris and, like, had accommodation in a really nice spot and had someone to show them around and stuff. Like, it's really lucky. Most people never get that opportunity. And they just, like, don't say thanks to their parents for sending them or their grandparents for hosting them. And I guess this is just me showing how much older I've gotten since I first watched this movie. But, like, just generally, like, having more of a respect and more of, like, an understanding of how, like, fucking lucky they are to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, no, it's sad. You know, they got a full expensive paid trip, and they're just like, you know, it was pretty shit for the first 4 days, and then we met some cute boys.
And that was also the thing, like, they get to see museums and, like, all this stuff that most people never get to see, and, like, I understand it's not fun when you're 12 years old, but, like, when I was 12, like, I did a lot of the same stuff, because I was living that side, and I never complained, because, like, I understood how lucky I was. Look, I wasn't an angel, I was probably a giant brat to my parents and stuff, but I at least knew that, like, this wasn't something that everybody gets to experience.
Yeah, exactly. And it's made you a more cultured and fantastic person because of it. And clearly that was the message of the film, was that they have come out the other side being more cultured and wanting to see the world and do all these fun things. Like go to Africa and wherever else
only
they
wanting
mentioned.
to make out with French boys.
And only wanting to make out with French boys. Which is a nice segue into my scene that could have saved it.
Oh boy.
Which is that first of all, I would have liked to see more of everything. It's a perfect film. In every single way. But I would have liked to see, and this is quite sort of divisive as well, I would have liked to see a scene where the French boys break their hearts, either by kissing other girls, or never speaking to them again, or something like that. Because that would have taught them a lot about how boys aren't everything. You know, these two young women are very comfortable with their sexuality, which is, I think, really an important message of the film. There's sort of none of this sort of, you have to be sort of cute and angelic and never think about boys or anything.
And also, everything's very much on their terms. Like, they're deciding when they get to see the boys. They're deciding to meet up with them. Like, it's really not like, oh, fate has thrown them all together, or like, these boys are calling the shots. They're very much calling the shots. Yeah, for realsies.
And even, like, it's so nice that scene where, like, they're trapped and the grandfather said, you're not allowed to go to the prom or whatever, and they come to the window and they're throwing rocks. Which is also, I would assume, a diplomatic incident because it's two French nationals on American soil.
Breaking and entering.
And
it could potentially be seen as harassment if they're throwing rocks at the window. Yeah, look, this movie does not quite understand how diplomacy works.
But anyway, yes, I would have liked to, and yes, I agree with you that was the point I was trying to make, is like, when they come out and they're like, oh, we can't see you, the boys are just like, that's really shit, but we're not gonna, you know, sort of be really dicks about it. They're sort of just like, look, we accept the fact that this is out of your control, but, you know, it sucks and we're hurt, but it's not in your control, so I'm sorry. But yeah, I would have liked to see a scene where the boys sort of fuck them over and they're like, wow, actually, boys aren't the most important thing. Boys are kind of incidental and boys are really shit.
And they also, like, I like that there was at least a day where they managed to have a lot of fun. A lot of it without hanging out with the boys. They just hang out with Brigitte, the model, and, like, went shopping and did a fun shopping montage, which I also was expecting when I moved to Europe, and I didn't get a fun shopping montage even once.
I'm sorry.
This is just digging up a lot of old feelings for me.
When we do when we go on tour for this podcast eventually, and we go to Europe, we'll do a shopping montage together. Okay, I promise.
Yes, please, that's all I want. I just want us to walk down a cobblestone street in silly hats. Some French woman going, attitude.
So good. And Buzz,
always
she's
attitude.
So great. Oh, man. Oh, that movie. It did. I think that's what I loved about this movie, though, is just everything about it was delightful. Like, there are problems with it, and there are major problems with it. But there's so many moments when you're just sitting there and you're just like, this is cute. This is adorable.
Mm-hmm. The grandfather talking about how he met their grandmother.
Oh, man.
When she was like a nurse in the Second World War. And I was like, first of all, the grandfather's fucking old. But also, like, this is adorable.
Yeah, that was super cute. It's a good film for that. So tell me, is it a bad movie or are they a bad director?
So the director of this is Alan Metter. He mostly directed stuff from the 80s down to like still the early 2000s. So he did Passport to Paris. He did Billboard Dad, which is another great Olsen Twins movie.
What?
Did you ever watch Billboard
I did
Dad?
not.
What? It's cute. Like, it's all of those like 80s and 90s movies where kids are just little scamps who are overly involved in their parents' love lives.
That sounds delightful.
It's fun. And then he did Police Academy, Mission to Moscow, which sounds funny. I haven't seen it.
No, I have not seen it.
And he did Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Oh, that's a great film.
So I think he wasn't a bad director, and I don't think it was a bad film either. He was just a quintessential 80s, 90s director, directing the kind of movies that people wanted to watch then, and that we still want to watch now.
Yeah, sort of funny romp films.
Yeah, just fun.
Yeah.
That's what everybody in the 80s wanted, because it was the Cold War. So everybody was like, let's just watch kids being ridiculous and hooking their parents up.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, fair enough. That's good. I'm glad he's not a bad director. And yeah, like you said, this isn't a bad film. It's just a mess.
And it's not for us as well. It's for, like, 10-year-old girls, which is what I was when I first watched it, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah. And I mean, it is just a romp, and it is just fun. Like, you know, essentially, there's nothing wrong with it. The plot actually holds together, which is sort of amazing for a film that shouldn't really, you know, like, it's scenes, essentially the film is scenes next to each other that could be sort of isolated, but it kind of fits really nicely in its entirety. And so there, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Unlike my film, which has apparently got no plot.
Oh, let's move right into it. I'm fucking ready to talk about this movie.
Okay.
Also not that ready, because as I mentioned to you, I fell asleep at the end. Dead sober
so
watching this movie, and I fell dead asleep.
That is so magical. And just to clarify, you didn't prep by watching the other two films, The Mummy and The Mummy Returns?
No, I did not watch them. I watched this one in isolation, and it has not sold the first two very well.
I can imagine that you will probably now never watch the first two just because you have now watched this one.
Look, maybe at some point, if it's, like, on TV, or, like, I'm too hammered to comprehend any other kind of movie, but that's very unlikely. I don't get that drunk on my couch anymore.
Ah, the sad time now.
Tell you what, though, if you come visit Cape Town, I will get hammered with you and watch the first two Mummy movies.
Yes, as soon as I have money, I am booking my ticket so we can do this. But I can promise you this right now, the first Mummy film is always on TV. There is not sort of a week that goes by where you wouldn't be able to find it.
I'm so sure I've probably seen, like, snippets of it over the years.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Coincidentally, the first Mummy film came out in 1999, which is when Passport to Paris came out.
They're incredibly similar films. An American person visits a foreign country and starts essentially many diplomatic incidents.
Miraculously manages to not cause war.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, that is actually a good point. There is not much difference between Rick O'Connell and the Olsen twins. Yeah.
Good to know.
But let's get into this. Let's get into my synopsis, which I again have written. So get ready for this. And when I wrote this the other day, I was like, this is very long. But I also feel like it has to be long to fully explain the film. And there are bits that I have left out as well. So it is long, so bear with me. But here we go.
Also, you are explaining it to me because I was not following it well.
Yeah.
And then I straight up missed the end.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, okay. So this is what happens in the film essentially. So remember Rick from The Mummy and The Mummy Returns? Well, he's back with absolutely none of the characters you came to know and love from the first two films in the slapdash, wishy-washy romp that rounds off the trilogy that should have died a sequel. It's now 13 years since Rick, played by Brendan Fraser, and his wife Evelyn, then played by Rachel Weisz, and now played by Maria Bello, stopped the return of the Scorpion King.
I did catch that joke at the beginning.
It made me very angry the first time I watched this film, and then it made me very angry again now. So yeah, they stopped the return of the Scorpion King in Egypt. They have retired from their resurrection business and have now settled down to their boring lives in the English countryside. Their son, Alex, now played by Luke Ford, is supposed to be at university studying, but, following his rebellious father's footsteps, he has forgone higher education and is now excavating in China? I wanted to say China. With the help of his family friend...
Can you just join an excavation without, a bachelor's degree in archaeology?
Apparently,
Is that just a thing you can
Apparently,
do?
if you're an O'Connell, you can. Apparently, the name allows you to do whatever you want. In whatever country you want. You don't need to, the fact that China-American relations at this time weren't great, but Alex can just, hop over, and fucking do his thing.
Waltz over and take over an excavation.
Which is fine. He speaks perfect Chinese, though, which is amazing, as we see from the first couple scenes where he's just, chatting with some of the locals.
Is it actually perfect, or...?
Well, I wouldn't know. I mean, I don't speak any Chinese, but I assume it is.
Oh, I was just wondering if you'd, read the trivia or something, this actor is surprisingly good at Mandarin.
No, this movie was too long and too disjointed to actually read any trivia. I have no trivia this week because this film doesn't deserve any extra attention. So yeah, he goes and he joins this excavation in China with his family friend, Dr. Roger Wilson, and they are excavating the fabled tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Now, the Dragon Emperor, played by Jet Li, is a tyrannical despot, and 2,000 years ago he swept across the lands of China.
It is Jet Li!
It is Jet Li, yes, it is indeed Jet Li. It's great. He does not get enough screen time, does Jet Li.
No.
So, while 2,000 years ago, he swept across the lands of China, killing without mercy and ruling with an iron fist. The only thing he feared was death, so, to escape said death, he found a witch, and asked her to make him immortal. Now, the witch, Zi Huan, played by Michelle Yeoh, fell in love with the Emperor's left-hand man.
I love her.
Oh, she's great.
Love her
she's
so much.
Fantastic. So, she fell in love with the Emperor's left-hand man, Ming Guo. Dragon Boy finds out about this, gets jealous, and kills Ming. Z then curses the Emperor, turning him and his armies into the terracotta soldiers. Now, we go back to the future, where Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell get offered the position to safely escort a sexy rock to China in order to initiate good faith talks between post-war China and England. They not so reluctantly accept under the guise that they will go and visit Evie's brother, Jonathan, played by John Hannah, who is fantastic in himself. I love him.
He's so cute. I love him.
And would you look at that? Deus Ex Machina be damned, the whole team are back in China again. Now, for some reason, which only sons and fathers will understand, Rick and Alex don't get along very well. And this is a pretty big point of the film, so please do remember it. Then it's a whole lot of bullshit until we get to Alex showing off his discovery to his parents. Lo and behold, Wilson turns out to be a traitor and is working with some evil Chinese gang run by General Yang, played by Chow Song Anthony Wong. He wants to resurrect the Dragon Emperor so they can take over the world as BFFs, so after a fight scene, they succeed and awaken the Dragon Emperor, which, again, we'll get into. Now, they can still kill him because he's not immortal yet. He has to go find a secret pool of the Fountain of Youth, essentially, in Shangri-La to do that. So, we're about 45 to 50 minutes into the film by now, and we still haven't even fucking gotten to this bit. So, there are more shenanigans, more one-liners, so much more movie, and Rick gets murdered, which sort of brings Alec and Rick to the position where they like each other again. But don't worry, he dies for about 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and then, boom, the Dragon Emperor gets to the Fountain of Immortality and can now turn into a dragon, and also one of those monsters from Where the Wild Things Are. But don't worry, he is still apparently, even though he's immortal, he can still get killed by a special dagger. There's more fighting. There's an army of dead people that fight the Terracotta army in a CGI battle akin to the ones in the Star Wars prequels. And then the final fight scene betwixt Rix and the Dragon Ball Lee, which I thought was a really good play on words. I'm just going to say that now. Dragon Ball Lee. Yeah? Feel it? Sit in it.
You're very
enjoy
funny.
I know, thank you, I needed that. Alex sneaks in to help. They team up to put the differences aside to defeat the Dragon Emperor. And they kill him, and then that's the movie.
It sure is. This movie wasn't super long, but it felt so long. It honestly felt longer than watching Gods of Egypt, because at least Gods of Egypt had better pacing.
That is one of the biggest points I made, yeah. Jesus.
And especially because you somehow just don't care about any of the characters. Like, you really... All of the relationships seem so shallow. All of, like, I don't know, you're just like, this, like, obviously no movies are real, but this one you're just really like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
Like, there's no suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. It's upsetting because, you know, like you would, I think what they relied on is the fact that this is the third one in the series, and so you should feel something towards them. But they also forgot that they've changed the whole the whole cast except for Brendan Fraser. Like, no one is anyone you know and care about. So, I mean, you're just sitting there and you're like, okay, we remember Rick. Rick is cool. But, you know, Alex is now this other guy who, by the way, here's an interesting point for you. In the second film, when they have Alex as a baby, he's like a child, he's like 10. He is British. Mm-hmm. He has a British accent, and then in this film, he's American. And it's like, okay, so what?
Well, look, in all fairness, though, I had, like, a South African accent when I was, like, a small child. And then when I moved overseas and went to, like, international schools and stuff, I got this fucking accent. So, you know, that could be excused, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, to be fair, Alex would have moved around a lot. He probably would have gone to an international school. So we can kind of forgive him. And you do see that, and I think it's good characterization by the actor who plays Alex in the fact that his accent slips sometimes, and he goes back into, like, a British accent sometimes. And I think that if it was a mistake, it's obvious, but if it was just a character thing where he was like, oh, well, I used to have a British accent, so every now and again I'll slip back into my British accent. And it's like...
Is the actor British? Because then it's, you know, it's just a fuck up.
I don't know, and I don't want to Google. I don't want to know anything more than about this film. I kind of just want to, you know...
I'm gonna check.
I want to be done with this film as soon as this episode's over. I never want to watch this film ever again.
Even Michelle Yeoh, who I love, and I think she is one of the most flawless human beings in this world, could not save this movie.
No, it was a disaster from start to finish. I mean, let's talk about your face. I don't know what that means. Your face was upsetting.
Oh, the actor who plays Alex O'Connell is actually Canadian, so it clearly was a character choice that he went into a British accent, or he just didn't care. But, like, I go back to, like, a South African accent when I'm, like, really mad. I just sound like a Constantia mum when I'm angry.
That's great.
It's great.
That's awesome. I would love to see that. I would love to be around for that. So I think we jump into the deep end and we talk about the Yetis first. Let's get the Yetis out the way.
Why? It was just... This movie was so extra on, like, shit that they should not have spent budget on. The Yetis didn't make any fucking sense. They just appear out of nowhere as the massive Deus Ex Machina. And you're like, wait, what?
They're so pointless. Like, Lee, who I didn't even mention in the plot synopsis because she does play absolutely no role in the whole plot, and the relationship between Lee and Alex... Yeah, she's a sexy lamp, and the whole relationship between Lee and Alex is just so forced. But she just, like, they're fighting the team as he's about to, like, go and find Shangri-La, and she just, like, runs off and she just shouts into the wind, and she just shouts into the wind, and the Yetis are like, oh yeah, we'll come and help. Like, the Himalayan mountains are not, like, a small group of mountains. The fact that, like, 6 or 7 Yetis were in the vicinity that heard this tiny Chinese woman in a storm in a fucking snowstorm, and she's just shouting with her human voice, and she's just like, oh, hey, come and help me, my people are in trouble, and the Yetis are like, oh, did you hear that? Yeah, of course I did. I'm a Yeti.
Look, you know what? We can't question what magical powers Yetis do or don't have. And also it's never, like, fully explained, you know? Like, I feel like the rest of the movie I was like, but wait, what about the fucking Yetis?
Yeah, like, no one, like, Rick has never seen a Yeti before, like, Alex has never seen a Yeti before, Evelyn has never seen a Yeti before, and they're just like, yeah, we can accept this because they're on our side.
But, you know, I suppose when you've seen mummies twice so far, and now a third time, you're just not gonna question things. Also, if you're preserved in terracotta, are you really a mummy?
No. We'll just definitively say no. Because you're still gonna... Because, you know, this is an interesting fact for everyone. Clay is breathable, so you will decompose.
Yes, very porous.
No, there's no way you will not decompose.
You just turn into mush at the bottom of the statue.
Yeah, exactly. It's very House of Wax in that respect. You're not gonna mummify.
It is. Yeah, especially not in those conditions.
Yeah, and also the fact, what annoyed me, there were little things that annoyed me about this film, like really, really stupid little things.
Along with all the big things, too.
And along with all the big things, like the fact that there was no plot, there was essentially just, let's move from this scene to the next scene and hope to God that a coherent film comes out.
Oh, and do some really forced dialogue in between.
Is this how relationships happen? I believe this is how relationships happen. But one of the things that really irritated me was the fact that we see in the preview how the Dragon Emperor freezes, and he freezes with, like, one hand up, and, like, he's in pain, but then when he's mummified, he's holding on to some horses, so clearly...
Mm-hmm. There are so many parts of this movie that are so unnecessary. There's the bit at the beginning where they're getting, what's-her-face, Brendan Fraser's wife, Evelyn.
Yeah, Evelyn.
They're like, oh, you understand ancient Chinese. Translate this inscription. And she's like, oh, only you need to use the blood of someone pure of heart. And you would think that would present an obstacle. But no, they immediately solve it by just using her blood. Apparently because she was willing to sacrifice herself for her own fucking husband. So clearly it's a low bar. And it doesn't contribute anything to the plot. It's just the most throwaway dialogue. They could have literally, oh my god.
Yeah.
It just makes me so angry.
It's so bad. And then also, just speaking about ancient Chinese, right? So, this is another little niggle for me, was, so, the Emperor, the Dragon Emperor, Jet Li, he's from ancient China. He can only speak ancient Chinese. How the fuck can anyone understand him? Like, the general himself says he doesn't understand ancient Chinese, only Evelyn does, but they have full conversations between them.
You know, clearly he had internet access all those years that he was a mummy, and he's just kept up with the times.
He knows the different language, it's all fine. I will appreciate, in a very angry way, the fact that they included the joke, the yak yacked. I sat in that joke for a while.
There was a lot of low-hanging fruit in this movie, and they picked all of it. And I suppose somebody has to do it, but my god. There were literally, like, there were a couple times where I was like, oh, wow, someone's butt on fire. Classic physical comedy.
Yeah. That whole scene where he's like, smack my ass, smack my ass. It's like, oh, okay, we're doing this.
It was just, like, zero original, like, thoughts. It was kind of like they got a writer into a room. They were like, please use as many cliches as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. They just wrote an entire movie out of tired cliches and bad characters.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, you know, because I think there's a metaphor in the film itself, because so Evelyn has written about the first two experiences with the mummies, and that's where the books come from. And then she has that conversation with Brendan Fraser, with Rick, and he's like, oh, what are you thinking for the third book? And she's like, I have no idea. And I think that's actually a metaphor for this film, because clearly they had no idea what they were going to do with this film.
No idea.
And so they just
came
up
so
with
what
some
are
random...
the nice things you have to say about this movie?
I'm having a look.
You like aged in front of me as I asked you that question.
There wasn't. I like the joke. There was a joke where Jet Li goes "Death to General Ming," and I think that's a callback to Flash Gordon, where he goes "Death to Ming," and that made me laugh.
That's the nice thing you have to say?
That is the nice thing I have to say. I wish there was more. Oh, I know what it was. There we go. I found it. I found the thing. That's cool. I like this film because even though the relationships are forced, there is a hell of a lot of equality between the female characters and the male characters. Alex, even though he doesn't know Lee at all, does not completely sort of ghost her or, dirt road her or anything. He's just like, oh, well, you have a good suggestion, we'll do what you said, because you have been guarding the Dragon Emperor for 2,000 years kind of thing, we'll listen to you. And I think that's really nice because Rick has obviously instilled this in him as his father because he respects Evie and Evie's decisions and he sort of doesn't undermine her or do anything like that. He's very much, Evie can sort of look after herself, she's got really good ideas, and I think all the female characters in this film are great, except for Lee, who is a sexy lamp, unfortunately, but that's just how she's written. I like the deference that is paid to the female characters. They're not sort of back characters, they're not sort of, how like in Indiana Jones, which is what I would equate this movie to, as sort of like a discount Indiana Jones. Where Indiana Jones, all the female characters just have no personality, they're just really like lazy sex toys. And in this film, they do female characters a bit of justice.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. I think that the female characters were pretty equally, like, everybody was equally poorly written. And the scriptwriter didn't take extra time to, like, make it extra shit for the female characters.
Yeah, it could have just been literally a case of the men characters getting all the good lines and things like that, which there weren't really any good lines. But yeah, they were all sort of equal footing.
Well spotted. And I think you have truly found the one rose among the many thorns.
It was hard to do. There are so many things that are bad with this film, and I think what makes this film bad, and you can't sort of join me on this point because you haven't seen the other two films, but the other two films are ridiculous. They are stupid and they are just crazy, just make no sense. But
hijinks.
Yeah, the hijinks. But there is plot, and there is a reason why they are doing it, and the relationships are natural. They're not sort of forced. Like, you're not, the storyline is very, very simple in the other two. It's sort of, there's a mummy, we've released the mummy, we need to get the mummy back in the box, and we're gonna have fun while we do it. Where this one, it's sort of like, we've released the mummy needs to do this thing before it can do this thing, but also if it does this thing, then we can still kill it even though it's immortal, but also he's a dragon who can also turn into a sort of goblin thing, but we've also got a witch who's 2,000 years old with her daughter who's 2,000 years old, but they're in love with a young American boy who doesn't get along with his dad, and also we can kill him by this dagger. Like, it's nonsensical. There's just no sort of coherent basis for why this film should exist, where the other two are just fantastic. Yes. Also, the graphics have not improved. I can tell you that now. The graphics have not improved. You might think that the graphics are bad in this one. Oh, but you should see the pictures of The Rock as the Scorpion King. It's a dream.
Also, if we want to talk about a movie that's just always on TV, The Scorpion King is right up there.
Yes, exactly. It's always on. Why is it always on? Let's move on to the scene that could have saved it, because, yeah, there's issues. There's issues.
What could have saved this?
What could have saved this film was the director going, you know what? Let's not do it. Let's just leave us alone. Let's just put it to bed, and we're done. Let's go home. Everyone can just chill. You don't have to worry, and it's all good. But no, seriously, the scene for me that could have saved it was the fact that the stakes were not explained. So in the other two films, we understood that the world was at stake. You've got this powerful mummy who can sort of control Egypt and bring along the 10 plagues in the first one. Sorry, 12 plagues in the first one. And then in the second one, you've got a mummy who can control an army that could essentially never die. With this one, you have a Chinese emperor who can still die by a very specific knife. And he's one guy who is very out of touch with things. He's got a very small army. The terracotta army is very easily destroyed because they're made of terracotta.
Yeah.
What we forget, and what I had to really think about for this, because I couldn't really think of anything that could have saved this film, but it's clearly made, it's made obvious to us that this is after the World War. I can't remember if it's the First or Second World War.
I would assume second.
I would assume second as well, but the world is at a very sort of tumultuous place. They've got no resources, everyone's poor, no one's doing well, they've got no soldiers left because everyone's dead. Like, the world is in a very vulnerable place, and for this to happen now is probably the worst thing. So even if he isn't that formidable as a villain, the world is incredibly vulnerable and open to attack. And so this guy, who was a great leader 2,000 years ago, can actually do quite a bit of damage. But none of this is explained. None of this is made clear, and so the stakes feel very underwhelming. We don't know why we're dealing with this guy. He's very easily killable. Yeah, no, I agree. In the other two films, they literally say the words, "the world is at stake here." Like, in this film, they're sort of just like, well, we kind of got to stop him because we kind of do, right? So, for you, what could have saved this film for you? I know you didn't even see the full film. Listen, I think there are a lot of scenes that they would have to take out and scenes that they would have to add to make this film better, and it would basically have to be a different movie. So here's the one thing that I wanted from this. As you know, I'm obsessed with Michelle Yeoh. I think she is flawless in every possible way, and I'm in love with her. Fair enough. Her character sacrifices herself at the end. She catches the guy's sword between her palms, and then she spots the dagger at his hip. And she lets the sword go so that he can stab her, and she can grab the dagger. Sacrificing herself so that she can grab this thing, even though, like, she wasn't doing poorly in the fight. No. Like, he'd taken her sword away, but we know from kung fu movies that that's not the end of the fight. No. So she just kind of, like, was doing fine, and then lets herself get stabbed so that she can grab this dagger, when it's like, surely you could just, like, get the sword out of his hand, like, do a little palm twist or fucking whatever. Kung fu doesn't make sense in these movies. And then, like, get the dagger that way. Like, there's absolutely no reason for her to sacrifice herself. I'm angry they made her do it, because she was the only, like, person who made me feel emotions in that whole movie. I thought her relationship with her daughter was, like, really well acted. It was the only one I cared about. And, that's the scene I want. I don't think it could have saved it, but it's the scene that would have made me hate it a bit less. Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a very fair scene. And, like, even if she herself had killed the Dragon Warrior, it would have been even better. Yeah. Get him a second time, girl. Finish it. Yeah, do it. So, was the film bad, or was the director bad? I'm gonna say that the film was bad, and that's purely because Rob Cohen has done quite a lot in his life. So he's done the Fast and Furious, the original one, I'll have you know. Oh, shit, the good ones. The good one. I mean... Triple X, The Boy Next Door. Okay. Dragonheart, which was adorable. He did the Rat Pack film. Interesting. And, so he's done quite a lot of stuff. He did the quote-unquote original good Fast and Furious film, and Dragonheart, if you haven't seen it, good lord, what a film. Excellent, excellent film. Just super cute, really heartfelt. I remember it. I loved this film. It's so cute. Okay, so he's a good director. Like, he's done some good stuff. I think he's just been given really shitty projects, and this is one of his shittier projects that he's had to do. And it's sad and it's unfortunate, but you can't help it. But yeah, I don't think he's a bad director. I think he knows what he's doing. Okay. So the scenes were really, like, tight and, like, well put together. Like, you understood everything that was happening. It was just the script that was an abomination, to be honest. And probably whatever producer had this vision. Yeah, it was. And, like, it's very hard to make relationships out of sort of the shit that he was given. Like, just really, really tough. So he did what he could. He did what he could, and he was able to make a film. Not a cohesive film, not a good film, but he made a film.
He sure did.
He sure did. So, yeah, that's good. I'm glad we got to do these ones, and I don't know about you, but I'm glad we're not doing horror for a while. I'm pretty horrored out.
I'm bad horrored out. Like, I am in it for the good horror. But, yeah, I can do a while without watching bad horror. I've watched a really good horror movie recently. It's called Last Shift. It's from 2014.
Yeah.
And it is, like, I wasn't a fan of the ending, but, like, it's really good, like, creepy stuff for most of the movie. I highly recommend
That's
it.
awesome. There are some really good sort of Netflix horror things that have come out recently that I really want to get into properly.
Yeah. I want to watch The Haunting on Hill House.
Yeah, I want to watch that too. Yeah. I've started watching The Quiet Place as well, and it looks so good. Like, I'm only, like, 30 minutes in, so I'm really excited to see where it goes. Tell me, let's do our final scene, a final segment, which is It's Not That Good, which is always a fun one to do. So tell me, what's that not that good to me, to you?
So I'm doing a slightly newer one today. I watched it last night, but it's been advertised a lot, and a lot of people have been talking about it online, because it's, like, brand new on Netflix. It's called The Apostle, and I watched it last night, and it's not that good. There's a lot of aspects of it that I like. It's got a cult, which I always appreciate. It's got a very, like, Crucible-type vibe, because it's this very, like, small, intensely religious, like, pious kind of community, and all of these, like, crazy tensions that rise up with that. And then you've also got, like, a supernatural element where, like, people are making blood sacrifices to, like, this weird creature goddess that runs the island. And that all starts off great, and then by the end, like, I feel like they just drop the ball, and you're just like, wait, what the fuck is going on? Like, and it's upsetting, because it starts off so strong, and it just peters out by the end. And if you're not a fan of, like, gore, or, like, seeing animals in pain, then don't watch this movie.
Oh no, what animals are in pain?
They killed baby sheep.
Oh, I mean, I love lamb chops, they're delicious, but I don't like to see them being killed.
I like to be detached from what my meat was.
Exactly. I don't need to know it. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. If that comes up on my Netflix queue, I shall ignore it with great fervor.
It's been, a lot of people have been raving about it, but in my opinion, it's just not that good. It's got Michael Sheen in it, though, which is always fun.
I think a lot of the problem with Netflix is that there's a lot of sort of faked hype on the web. There's sort of like, oh, people actually fainted while watching this Netflix horror, and it's like, no, they didn't. You're a fucking liar. And
I also feel like Netflix is one of those things, like, they start off with good concepts, and then they'll bring on a scriptwriter, and the scriptwriter just, like, drops the ball. Or, I don't know, maybe production. Maybe there's some higher up who's like, oh, it can't end like this, or oh, I don't like this ending, and then it ends up being shit. I don't know which way it goes, but I just find, like, there are so many Netflix things that are good conceptually, and then you watch it and you're like, this was not executed as well as it could be.
I agree with you there.
And what is your It's Not That Good?
Now, I know I've attacked Quentin Tarantino before, but I'm going to do it again today.
Here we go.
And I'm going to say Django Unchained is not that good. Big gasp. Le gasp.
Okay, let's hear it out.
Now, I like Quentin Tarantino films, but I feel like this was just an excuse for him to peddle his mild racism, because it is clear from who he is as a person that he is a bit of a racist and a bit of a bigot and definitely sexist. And I just feel like, A, it was too long. Towards the end, it sort of up to the point where they get recaptured. It's an amazing film. That scene where Monsieur Candide is Leonardo DiCaprio, discovers who they are and, like, cuts his hand on the glass and beautiful. All that stuff. Up until that point, it's a really, really great, memorable film that's amazing. And then it just devolves into chaos that's just really bad. And I know Quentin Tarantino wanted to make a Western. That was the whole point of this film. He was trying to make a Western. But he is such a good director and writer for his novelty and his nuance of concepts. And this, towards the end, just evolved into nothingness, and it's just sort of like, okay, I want to go home now. This film was good, and now it is no longer good. And I felt that way with Inglourious Bastards. As I've said on this podcast, it just goes on too much.
So, your issue with Tarantino films, if I'm understanding right, is, like, it starts off with these really, like, good, like, beautiful, like, nuanced scenes with, like, really good dialogue and fucking brilliant acting, and, like, it's these scenes that make you feel so many feelings even though they're fucking talking about nothing or whatever. And you're like, this is amazing, this is great. And then all of a sudden, it's just, like, 30 minutes of shooting and screaming. I
feel like I'm walking into a trap, but yes, that is kind of what
I'm
saying.
I'm not trapping you. I'm kind of almost agreeing with you. Like, I like a nice bloody action sequence. Kill Bill, both movies are some of my favorites of all time for that reason, because it's just so ridiculous. Yeah. But I do... I mean, that's quintessential Tarantino, though, right? Like, him just, like, starting off with these incredible artsy scenes, and then also, like, these overly violent, ridiculous scenes. Like, that's just him. But I do see why you don't like it. It feels cheap compared to some of the other scenes that you've gotten.
Yeah. And, like, his earlier work, like, I know everyone has to grow and evolve, and when you do grow and evolve, you make mistakes and everything. But if you look at sort of his earlier works, like Pulp Fiction, it's tight, everything makes sense, and it's perfect. Even the gratuitous violence is perfect in itself. Drive Angry, not Drive Angry, sorry, fuck, what's it called?
I know what you're thinking of, fucking...
Drive something.
Death Proof!
So Death Proof has gratuitous violence, but it is a tight film, like, it's just really well contained, where I feel like Inglourious Bastards and, Django Unchained, they were really nice and tight, and then he didn't know how to end them. That's how I feel. Like, every other film, he's got, like, a really nice, cohesive ending that just finishes off beautifully. You wrap it in a bow, and it's just nice. Where these two films, it's like, I actually have no idea what I'm doing now. Let's just keep rolling until something feels like an ending. And it's just, it's just lazy. And Quentin Tarantino is clearly not a lazy person.
I know it's not because you hate Tarantino. I know it's just because you think he can do better.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I'm Quentin Tarantino's unimpressed father.
You're not mad, you're just disappointed.
I'm just disappointed. I know he can do better. If he really just applied himself, he just got off that goddamn phone, stopped texting and twittering.
Stop playing all those video games.
All of those video games, those Spider-Mens, he would be fine. He would do well.
So, what movie are you doing next week?
Oh, I'm so excited, and I hope you're ready for it.
I'm so ready.
Next week, I'm going to be doing Shrek Forever After.
Yes!
We're going Shrek, baby!
Yes! I'm so excited. I love Shrek. I'm ready to watch these movies.
It's gonna be great. I'm gonna have to catch up on 3 and on 2 and 3 again because I haven't watched them in ages. I can pretty much quote 1, so that one's fine. Yeah. But 2 and 3, I'm so excited.
Wait, so this is the
we're gonna be in for a treat.
Shrek?
Yes, my dear. This is number 4.
Great. Cool. It's so cool that they've been going on for that long.
I loved your original excitement, and now this.
No, it's perfect. I love Shrek. I'll probably enjoy catching up. But wow, way to beat that dead horse.
It's on Netflix. All of them are on Netflix, so we're okay.
Okay, good.
Oh, good. Tell me, what movie are you doing? I'm excited.
Okay. So, little background here, because I found it a little funny. I was trying to look for my It's Not That Good for this week, and I was like, let me just look up, like, the best films of 1999. And I was like, I probably won't know a lot of them, because I was, like, so young at the time. False. I knew all of the best films of 1999. Some really good movies came out then. But also, guess what else came out in 1999? Are you fucking ready?
I'm so excited.
The Will Smith classic, Wild Wild West.
No, we're doing Wild Wild West! Ah! I'm so excited, it's such a bad film!
It's so bad! And I probably watched it like a million times when I was a kid, which is like super inappropriate.
Holy shit, how did your parents allow you to watch it when you were a kid? Oh my god, I am so excited. Wild Wild West. Oh my god.
I love that we're just giving each other such joy.
Oh, this is gonna be so good. I mean, I love the fact, and we'll probably speak about it next week a lot, but I love the fact that it's probably written into every Will Smith contract that he has to do the theme song for his films.
Yeah. I forgot he did the theme song for that. This is also the movie that gave me my lifetime crush on Salma Hayek. I'm just so excited.
Oh man, it's gonna be, I don't even care how our listeners are reacting to this. Next week is for us. I don't care if no one downloads that next episode. Oh my god, what a week. Holy crap.
I'm so happy that you're happy.
I'm so excited. I'm so happy that you're happy.
We're so excited to be out of the horror movie cycle that we're just watching ridiculous movies, and I love it.
But yeah, so how are things, Simone? How are you? What's happening this week? What's been happening in your life?
I'm good. As you know, I had the housewarming last weekend, and then I just sort of had social fatigue all the way after that. So I just had a really quiet week. But it's been good. It's been nice. It's been refreshing. It's been relaxing. I've gotten a lot of work done. I've gotten a lot of editing done. And yeah, I'm happy. My Oliver's settled into the new house now. You look at him. He's so sleepy.
He's so cute. For our purely, audible listeners, he is full on asleep with a little paw hanging over the couch. He's adorable. Did you put butter on his paws, or did you just let him sort of domesticate himself? No, I didn't. That's fucking insane. No, we've been keeping him inside, but today was his first day that he's allowed out into the garden unsupervised. He does venture into the neighbors' yards, but neither of them have pets, so it's fine. Okay, that's fine.
Talk to them about it, and he's good. He keeps coming back home, so he knows that this is his home now.
Good boy.
Yeah,
good
how
boy.
are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I have had the most wonderful sort of Friday ever. So, Thursday night, I'm studying really late. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I've just finished studying. Now, a bit of backstory, I buy my glasses from a online glasses company called Ace and Tate, and they only sell they sell their glasses for like 98 quid. They're really, really cheap, but they're really good quality, and they're awesome. But the glasses I bought, the Neil, was too small for my face, and it used to cut into the side of my face. So I had a bit of like an indent on my sort of, not my pupil, by my temple, and it was just getting really irritating, and it was starting to scar and whatever. So I was going to go eventually to a optometrist and get them to stretch it out. But because of sort of how busy I am with, law school and work and everything, I haven't really had the chance. So I thought, this Thursday night, 1 o'clock in the morning, I would just do it myself. So what I did was I boiled the kettle, and I put my glasses in the boiling water, and I left them there for a couple minutes just so the metal would get soft enough for me to sort of expand it. Took my glasses out, and the hot boiling water had melted the protective covering on the glasses, on the lenses. So I wasn't mad. I thought it was just really, really funny, because, this is just one of those situations, right? So I had a laugh, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to buy new glasses now. Oh, well. So I went and I bought new glasses online at Ace and Tate again. And, I haven't been paid for like a month and a half, so I'm pretty destitute right now. So it wasn't great, but, it has to be done. I fucked up. It was my own fault. So the next morning, I tweet. And I say, life lesson, don't put your glasses in boiling water to sort of adjust the metal. And I tagged Ace and Tate in it. And they immediately responded on Twitter saying, hey Chad, we're sorry to hear about your glasses, but we see that we're sending you a new pair of glasses with some tea, so you don't boil your glasses again, but you can relax and have some nice tea. So I thought that was really, really cute, thinking that, they were just going to send me, they had gone online, they had seen that I'd placed the order, so they were going to include some tea with the order.
Yeah.
So I immediately respond to them and I'm like, that's why I only buy from you guys, because you're the best. And then I get an email from them saying, hey, we see that you've ordered new glasses and we're sorry to hear what happened to your old glasses. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you another pair free of charge to replace your glasses. So I'm getting 2 pairs of glasses, and then I said to them, well, if you're sending the free ones, I'll just, I'd rather you didn't send the free ones because I've already bought these ones, and I don't want to, this was my mistake. I don't want to put you guys out. And they were like, no, we like to fulfill our promises, so we'll send you those ones, and if you want to return the other ones, you can, if you want. So they're sending me 2 pairs of glasses.
That's amazing.
And it's my own fault. They didn't ask for proof. It was beautiful, and I think that's so nice of them.
Aww.
So if you need new glasses, if you're listening to this and you need new glasses, Ace and Tate is the way forward. It's simple as aceandtate.com, or just Google Ace and Tate and they'll come up, and it's just the best. Just do it. Get yourself a decent pair of glasses for cheap. They do prescription. So, I mean, best company in the world.
You should tell them that you've mentioned them in the podcast. Tag them when we put up the podcast, just so that, they know.
No, I will, yeah. I will. I definitely will. I emailed them and I said, look, I'm going to speak about you in the podcast, but I will tag them in it as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Because I think that's really amazing. Yeah, I thought that was really nice.
That's such great I always love, the thing with customer service, and I know, because I had to learn all about it, the thing with customer service is, people always remember when something goes wrong and you fix it, more than if you just do the right thing the whole time. And it's just so nice to see companies who, they don't have to do it, but, they just go that little bit extra to, be cool and be nice to their customers. That's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, I would have just been happy with the tea, because I had already ordered new glasses. I didn't need another pair of glasses.
Please tell us what tea they buy you.
I will be drinking it, there's no question about it. And I will mention it on this podcast. But I think that's, I would have just been happy with the tea. I didn't need the second pair of glasses. They were so good about it.
That's so cool. Well,
so that's...
Congratulations.
That was my sort of win. So, yeah, we fucking did it. We did another episode.
It again.
Can you Adam and Eve it, as the Cockney British say?
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, you're integrating with the locals?
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to become one of them. Assimilation is better than standing out. Just become a sheep. It's the best thing to do. So, where can the people find you, Simone?
So people can follow me on Instagram at simone.le.roux. They can also follow this podcast on Instagram at It's Not That Bad Podcast. And then we are on Twitter and Facebook at It's Not That Bad 1. Oh, and people can also read my articles over at Forge and Flint. Yeah,
brilliant. And you can also find me at Forge and Flint. All my articles are there too. It's just forgeandflint.com, or if you want to Google it, it's just forge_Flint. You can find all of our articles there. You can also find some other people's articles, short stories, and poems. They're really, really interesting, as well as this podcast. You can find me on Instagram at chatspeed1993. Same with Twitter, that's chatspeed1993. And like Simone said, all of our social media for this podcast, just to catch up on what's happening. And as always, subscribe, like us, tell a friend, tell family, tell that distant aunt who is still trying to figure out. And what I've realized is what you also need to do is you need to physically take people's phones and download the podcast and subscribe on their phone.
I do that to my mom with all the podcasts I think she should listen to, and she's not ungrateful.
Exactly. So people won't not appreciate it because they still have the choice to listen to it, but at least they've subscribed, and it's because of you. You've done something good, and we appreciate it. And talking about that, we really appreciate all the love that you've been giving us.
Yes.
I mean, we're growing, but we're growing slowly, and that's really nice. It's nice to see that we're growing, and thank you guys. Thank you for your constant support. We really, really appreciate it. And I mean, there's only one thing left to say, and we say it at the end of every episode. We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Bye!
But bye now.